Hey guys, in today's video about the psychology of building playlist, I'm going to do a video about the phase that is probably the most frustrating for our customers, which is what I'll call the 30-day till close phase. Now, as I say that, this house is more than 30 days until it's completed. It's a pretty nice custom house, and we're probably at roughly 45 days or so until we get it done. But we've hit the phase where things are looking pretty finished. And this is why I say this is the phase that can, psychologically be a little frustrating for homeowners. Number one, the closer you are to getting into the house, the more excited you are, the more anxious you are. And I guess kind of the less patience sometimes you have because it's just, hey, it's close, we want to get in there, right? Which makes perfect sense. The other thing that happens is to the average person that is not a home builder is you just walk in and think, it looks like it's pretty much done, right? Now, this house isn't far enough along to give 100% of that illusion because we are still missing some things. We've got a lot of it done. We've got countertops in. That's what this blue stuff is, just the plastic over the countertops. The first paint's done, so you can see the kitchen cabinets are all painted. Here is the great room. Beams are stained. Everything's done from that standpoint. What we haven't done yet is we have not put in all the plumbing fixtures. We do not have the decorative light fixtures in. We've done the plugs and switches and things like that. So it's at that phase where if, the homeowners were to walk in, not necessarily these homeowners, but again, this is just a broad example of what can happen in this business, things start looking like there is not much left to do, I have had situations where homeowners have been in a house like this at this phase and thought we had, or maybe thought we should have 2 more weeks of work left. And, I will say as a home builder, one of the interesting phases of building a house, and actually what can be frustrating for us also, is this last phase. I'll call it this close to the finish line phase, technical term. I'm going to trademark that. But, when we are to the point that all the major stuff's done and we're now down to some detail stuff, why is that part of the phase frustrating? Well, I always say framing a house is the most exciting phase for our customers. That is because the scale of work being done is huge. A great example is the owners of this house are from another state and they still live in that other state. So they come in all the time, but it's fair to say they get the experience of coming into town and seeing a significant amount of work done, than they saw the last time they were in town. What can actually make a house build feel like it drags a little more is if you are somebody that lives close by and you're here all the time, because now kind of sequence that you're seeing feels slower because you are seeing it every day. So I've actually enjoyed building for out-of-town customers because they come in, they haven't been in 2 weeks, and they're like, oh my gosh, all this work's done. And that's kind of fun for us. So, but going back to the large scale things like framing, even putting the drywall up, cabinets going in, cabinets and trim and doors, these are all big things. The scale of them is big. And so you feel like these huge milestones have been, reached when you get those things done. Again, especially framing. I mean, you don't go out to a house for a week and you come back, a week after they started and walls are up and roofs and things like that. Then you get to the end and it becomes, it feels so much slower. Keep in mind, it's moving at the rate at which it moves. Each phase of a house has a different typical timeline, and it's just that now when you get down to where you can come to this house and you can't tell a lot has happened from last Friday to this Friday, that can start to feel a little bit like, what is the builder doing? What's happening here? And there again, some of the problem is now it's little stuff, it's detail work. Obviously, when all the plugs and switches have gone in and the light fixtures have been hung, you can really see that. After all what we call the mechanical trims are done, that's all the plumbing fixtures are in, all the light fixtures are in, and all your HVAC, all your heating and AC grills and condensers and stuff outside are in. At that point, there isn't much left to do unless you have some flooring you have to wait on and get acclimated to the air conditioning. So what you're often seeing now is patchwork on the sheetrock, painters coming through doing their stuff, a lot of smaller things that can psychologically have you going, well, I don't see a whole lot more done today than was done 3 days ago. The fact is there were things being done, but they are smaller, they're more detailed. You don't see them and feel them the same way you do when you've shown up and all the sheetrock's been hung on the walls, stuff like that. It also gets a little bit, for builders, tricky at the end on some of the things we'd like to have in, but we have to go through certain steps too. So for this house, we're just getting it plugged and switched. We're just about to get the light fixtures hung. We've got the power run up to the house, but we need to have all this stuff in before we can get what we call a utility final inspection that will allow us to at least get a meter on the house. Once we have a meter, an electric meter on the house, we can power everything up, and we can also start up our HVAC system. So HVAC systems get set, but then techs need to come out, charge them, start them up, get the heat working, get the air conditioning working. And then if we have wood floors, or in the case of this house, it has luxury vinyl plank upstairs. Amazingly, luxury vinyl plank needs to acclimate to a conditioned house just like wood floors do. You've probably, or maybe you haven't, but you may have heard about wood floors needing to be acclimated to a house. They have to be brought in, they have to sit in a conditioned house for about a week. Why do we have to do that? Because wood expands and contracts with humidity and temperature. When you bring wood into a house, and let's say you put a whole wood floor down in a house that did not have the AC running yet. Right now in Texas, it's hot and it's humid because it's been raining a lot. There's a certain level of moisture content in that wood, and in the house in general, even in the foundation, that now we turn on the air conditioning system, it starts pulling down the humidity, and you can start to have problems with that wood. It will start to shrink because that's what wood does. When it loses moisture content, it will start to shrink, and you'll start to see gaps open up where the planks meet each other. Amazingly, luxury vinyl plank, even though it is a vinyl flooring, does the same thing. I'm sure the flooring companies figured this out years ago when they started having problems of putting some of that stuff down before conditioning because they thought they could because it was vinyl. And lo and behold, the air conditioning gets turned on, or the heat, and those same kind of things happen that happen to wood floors. So in the case of this house, they had tile everywhere downstairs, so we're good to go. We've got everything done downstairs, but upstairs we have to get the luxury vinyl plank in. We have to go through these processes first of getting our utility final, getting the meter, getting the house powered up, getting the HVAC system started. Then we're gonna bring that vinyl plank in and let it sit for a week before they install. So that is one of the tricky things about this phase of almost being done on a house, where if you have a lot of wood flooring in it, you may still have to allow it to acclimate for a certain amount of time before it can be put in. You can be looking around going, the house is basically done, I just need these wood floors in, but those are the steps your builder has to go through to get those wood floors in. So, psychologically, I just wanted to put this one in the playlist because this is something I have seen before. I have had customers come out and see homes in this phase. We were building a really big home a year or two ago, and we weren't probably even this far along. Maybe we had just painted. And I can remember the homeowner looking at me and going, so we're gonna be able to move in next month, right? And I laughed out loud because I thought she was joking, awesome homeowner. And when she kept staring at me, I realized she wasn't joking. And I had to explain, no, we're not even close. As a matter of fact, with a house that size, we had months to go. And she just said, well, it looks like everything's kind of in. And so time and time again, as a builder, I have to remember that, you out there having a home built, you don't know what you don't know. As a builder, I can be standing here going, well, yeah, we still have a lot to do. But to you, it may look like it's mostly finished. And that's where some of the frustration and anxiety can come from the customer side. You feel like it's almost there. Why can't we get in it yet? So just know if you're building a house, this phase is probably the most anxious slash frustrating because it looks like we're almost there, but there's just a lot of small detail work that gets done. As builders, this phase is honestly probably the hardest for us because of that. It is a lot of small detail work. We have to do walkthrough after walkthrough to make sure we're catching all the paint related things, all the texture related things, so that when we send subcontractors in here to hit those things, we make sure they're getting them all. The worst thing for me when I used to superintend my own homes was, sending a contractor out to patch some walls and then be in the day after walking and see another spot that I didn't tell them to do. And so you're getting them back. So, as builders, we want to try to consolidate all that and have these subcontractors make one trip. So again, I hope this video is helpful for you. Just know that when you're in this phase of the house, you're going to get there eventually. But when your builder says there's a lot of detail work to do that you may not notice, it's true. That is part of the process. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.